Welcome to the third season of the Coaching Cast, your working from home managers club. Regardless of where you are working right now, at home, in the office, or a blend of both, or whatever you do as a career, we've got something for you at the Coaching Cast. I'm Lisa, founder of Grip Corporate Coaching, personal performance coach, leader, and chief eye roller when it comes to all nonsensical corporate mumbo jumbo which suffocates rather than advocates.
And I'm Susie, sales and business coach at Future You Business Coaching, currently taking on my hardest coaching assignment to date, still parenting that toddler who doesn't take too kindly to being questioned.
In this podcast, we aim to explore the leadership and coaching techniques required to navigate and survive the current business environment, presenting different topics each episode, which we will discuss with some special guests along the way, sharing ideas, hints, and tips for you to take away and try for yourself. We hope you enjoy listening. So we've all been there, the challenging line managers who we get appointed to and who get appointed to us as well, who we know we need to get on with for the success of both our jobs, careers and future, but who we sometimes struggle with. But whose responsibility is it to fix the situation? Today, we'll be discussing how to manage your manager to get the best out of both of you. So, before we get into it, let's talk about our week. Suze, what's been going on?
Hi. Hello, everybody. What's been going on? So I've had a pretty mediocre week, I'd say. Like nothing too extravagant, nothing too exciting. Although, actually, now I say that, I did spend some time in a maze on Saturday. So I went to a family fun thing where you go in a maze in a field of sweet corn. I think it's sweet corn. I don't actually.
Was Theresa May there? Was she?
No.
Is she dancing around in a field of wheat? Is that what that was? A field of sweet corn.
I'm sure it's
Sweet corn, like corn husks.
Yeah.
I always find those things quite fascinating. But I doubt it was a sweet corn field. Where were you? You went to America. You were in
So I was in Cheshire. Near, I'm sure it was corn. Anyway,
Theresa was there. Teresa's there in the background. Doing her dance, waving.
Yeah, absolutely. She was one of the scarecrows we had to find in the maze. There was actually a Boris scarecrow. Hilarious.
Was there? Oh, that's quite funny. Well, there you go then. Similar.
So yeah, we went in this maze, which was quite fun actually. I really enjoyed it. Again, another family focused activity that's not too extreme, which I really enjoy.
I think mazes are extreme. They're scary. You can't get out of there. You can't get out of there quickly.
I actually was with some other people and I had more confidence in their abilities to navigate us out than I did in my own. Although these are my 2-year-old.
These are the days of Google Maps though. You could just get the maps function and go, can I get the directions out of here? Oh yeah. There we go. And it would be turn left, turn right.
Turn left. I could have had it on loudspeak, turn left, turn right. I've actually got a pretty good sense of direction. So I at no point did I feel completely lost. I kind of was I think I could get my way back out. Anyway, we had to go around and find the scarecrows. And it was really fun, actually. I really enjoyed it. But when we went in, the guy who was running it was this is your number. You need to make sure you don't forget this number because you need to tell me this number on your way out of the maze. He's really don't forget it, but over-labored the point. So I was a bit oh God, how complicated is this maze? Am I ever going to return? Oh no, are they going to have to come in and find me and be
What's the
shouting?
Significance of the number?
I think it's so they know you've come back out.
Oh.
So we were number two, hello, number two. And it's pitch black, 9 hours later with a torch, trying to find me in the maze with Theresa May.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God. Yeah, see that I think mazes used to scare me as a kid because I didn't like the idea of not being able to get out quickly.
Yeah,
I'm not actually claustrophobic. Well, I suppose I'm a bit claustrophobic.
Yeah, I can get that. I haven't been in one for years, so it was actually like a novelty. And it was in the day. I think if it was a night, because you can do like nighttime ones.
Oh my God, that sounds even scarier.
I mean, that would just be, I would be tripping all over the place. Like
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's I'm scared of my own shadow.
In a field of wheat. Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No way. But anyway, so went to a maze. That was quite cool. And then I've been like fully embracing the autumnal vibes. Like, to put it bluntly, I've been putting my pajamas on at about 4:30 most days.
That's not an autumnal vibe. That's just lockdown living. You've just regressed into lockdown living.
And I've really enjoyed it. I've really liked, I mean, I don't need any excuse to put my pajamas on. And my mum's listening to this. She always laughs at me because she's always like, any excuse, you're like, bam, pajamas on. I'm like, yes, absolutely. But I feel like I've got worse. Like, it's getting earlier and earlier in the day. Like, soon I'll just be like, I've woken up. Do you know what? There's no point even getting changed. I'll just stay in my pajamas all day. I mean, that sounds amazing. I have a 2-year-old, so that's not.
I think that's what most people still do. As I said, I think that's a habit from lockdown that no one's really given up.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm fully embracing that. I've dropped off the exercise bandwagon. I'm much better exercising when it's lighter and not raining.
Yeah.
And I feel more motivated and energized to like get on it and do it. And life's got a bit busy again now, like post lockdowns, and the exercise has really fallen down. So I need to get back on with doing a bit more exercise for sure. Because I'm just sat around in my pajamas, like eating mashed potato and kind of like winter-based foods.
I do love mashed potato. Love mashed potato.
It's honestly one of my favorite foods. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of in a nutshell been my week. Anyway, how was your week?
So as usual, we have alternative perspectives. You do the child friendly and then I do the extreme opposite, being childless. And last weekend was extremely non-child friendly in that I went on my best friend Hannah's hen do in London on Saturday. So I was always slightly nervous about this hen do for a number of reasons. One, my friend Hannah is carnage personified and she's the bride to be, and it was always going to be crazy. On top of the fact that I haven't been out in nearly 2 years, as in I've gone out, but only really with Dom, my husband, and it's for meals and things, like nothing mental apart from his birthday. But that's a whole nother story and cannot be shared on this podcast because it's just too inappropriate. But I'll leave you all hanging on that one. But yeah, it's like my first proper night out, first night out with the girls, first night out with my girlfriends who are my besties, who I have not seen collectively en masse. We've not got together for 2 years. So it was always going to be a bit nuts on Saturday.
Yeah, a bit savage.
And it did not disappoint in that it started the actual hen do started at 11:15 in the morning, and we went to a drag brunch in Covent Garden.
Love it.
There were over 30 of us that my friend Hannah had invited, a lot of whom, to be honest, I don't really know. They're from her friendship group that she's grown in connection with her husband-to-be. And let's just say that by 3:00 in the afternoon, a 30-year-old woman was already being sick all over herself.
Oh, no. She'd peaked too soon.
Understatement. I mean, I have no idea what she was drinking. I was having a few beverages, but Jesus, I don't know what she managed to consume in 4 hours that meant she was puking already at 3:00 in the afternoon. It was a sobering experience. I mean, I wasn't sure which way I was going to go because I was so tired because I've literally worked every day for 3 weeks. I wasn't sure whether with all the excitement, the alcohol, whether I was either going to be absolutely smashed by midday or asleep.
Yeah, it was going to go one way or another, wasn't it?
But unfortunately, this poor girl, just what happened to her and witnessing it, I just sobered up immediately. I was like, whoa, this is too much for me. I can't believe that this is happening already. And I felt for her as well, but like, that wasn't pretty. My friend dancing around Leicester Square as an inflated, like in an inflated penis costume was the highlight. It was absolutely hilarious. Honestly, Leicester Square on a Saturday, it was absolutely packed. London actually felt like normal on Saturday. I've never seen it that busy. That's the busiest I've seen it in 2 years. And she was dancing around a busker singing Ed Sheeran in an inflated penis costume.
Oh, wow.
With families and small children. I mean, it was hilarious. If I could share a video on this podcast, I would. Maybe I'll put it up on the Insta stories. But it was brilliant. It was hilarious. So yeah, I paid that busker a couple of quid to say sorry. For ruining his performance. But I think he enjoyed it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so what time did it conclude? What time did you make it to bed? Was it a late one?
Well, I think it all started. I think the last stripper left because there was a few.
There was a few. That's amazing.
The last stripper arrived at 8 o'clock in the evening.
That's hilarious.
I mean, how early is that as well? Left at 8 o'clock in the evening, and I think my friend Hannah had already passed out before that, and we had to wake her up to witness the last stripper, which was hilarious anyway. We're like, Hannah, you need to wake up now. The last stripper's here. You don't want to miss this one. And she was like, I want to go to bed. And we were like, yeah, just watch the last stripper. And then we got a rally, like my friend rallied her, got her, I think, a pint of water and a packet of crisps, or a pint of Coke, got her back up again. She watched the last stripper, and then went to bed. So I think it pretty much wrapped up about 8:30. And then there was like a group of us that carried on and got some snacks and some drinks in a nice hotel bar somewhere. So I think I went to bed about 1 in the end. But
was she still in the penis costume when she was watching the final stripper?
She was in her final outfit by that point because they dressed her up about 3 times as well. But her last outfit was quite nice. I mean, it was like she had a hen veil and stuff like that. Yeah, her first outfit was a granny costume that had like sagging boobs. That was hilarious. The second costume was the inflatable penis, and it was massive as well, this thing. And then the third one was just like a veil and stuff. So we let her look nice for the finish.
I mean, that's a lot of outfit changes. That's a lot of logistics.
Yeah, the bridesmaids, who were also my best mates, did a great job. They really did.
Yeah, sounds like they did.
But yeah, it was really good. It was good. But yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you had a nice time and let loose a little bit.
Yeah, I don't need much encouragement to do that, really. As I said, I actually think it fared well. I could have been that girl puking on herself at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Luckily, she beat me to it. So I was like, thanks very much to that woman, who I don't actually know very well. Cool. So should we get cracking with the topic?
I think we should definitely move swiftly on.
Our managers are key people for all of us. They are there to lead us, give direction, support us, challenge and develop us. But to do this successfully requires a relationship to be in place. And what happens when this is not forthcoming? Whose responsibility is it to resolve this? We don't often get to choose our manager, and vice versa. So it's important to invest in what you've got and try and make the most of it for both of your benefit. In general, building relationships, engaging with key stakeholders and networking are key activities when you work in an organisation, not just for progression, but for being successful in your day-to-day role, while also enabling you to enjoy it a hell of a lot more, because the more support you have, the easier it is. So let's discuss how to manage your manager and build your leadership network. Suze, what's your experience of like this term managing up? Can you describe a specific scenario and the steps that you took just to like help bring it to life for everyone?
Yeah, so I think initially, let's just explore that term, managing up.
Managing up.
I think it is a term which is probably more affiliated with working in an organisation where there's a lot more structure, a lot more layers of management, maybe more stakeholders as well. So for me, the term and its kind of definition is about cultivating a trusting relationship upwards with your line manager or with key stakeholders who are perhaps more senior than you. So I think that is a really important thing just to kind of define first off. I think when you're the important thing to remember when you're thinking about managing up and how to approach it and what to do with it is just kind of remembering that it basically is about jointly managing a relationship and building a relationship where there is, as much as you possibly can, have mutual trust, mutual respect. And you actually have to really invest in it like you would any other relationship, either at work, with your family, with a friend, etc. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes commitment on both parties. And I'll come on to talk a bit more about what that means and looks like in a moment. And I think if you go into it with that intent that you want it to be as positive as you possibly can, and that you're willing to work for it and to grow it, it can be a really positive and productive relationship to have. And like you said in the intro, a very important relationship to have within the work context. And I think, it also has to grow and be fostered over time. And one of the key elements that underpins that relationship and managing up really is about how you cultivate and grow trust, in my experience. Because when you're thrown together, especially you have a new line manager and you don't know you might not know a huge much about them, so you might not know where they've come from, especially if they've come from a separate organization, they've recently joined or they've moved roles. You might not necessarily know what their strengths are, what some of the things they're interested in, how they work, etc. You are literally kind of just two individuals who have to now find a way of mutually connecting, building trust and working and moving forward. And I think it's important to not get too bogged down in the whole kind of concept of managing up initially, especially if you're new together. It's about actually getting to know each other initially first and just trying to understand that other person. And then thinking about, okay, from that point, once you've established that trust, that respect, that understanding, I now need to kind of transition my approach to maybe a little bit more around managing their expectations, managing them to get the best outcome for myself and also for them as well. Because remember, regardless of what you do think, it is true, especially in organizations, you are a reflection of your team and of your potentially of your leader, depending on what scenario you're in. And so, they have a vested interest in your performance, your development. They should, if they're a good leader. So, it's really important to not forget that. I think in terms of what have been some of my experiences and the steps that I took, I think I inherited a brand new manager who happened to be like a colleague. So it was somebody I knew, but I hadn't worked massively closely with. So I kind of knew them from afar, but I didn't have a huge amount of detail about their style, what they were really good at, what they enjoyed, how they liked to be communicated with, etc. And I needed to kind of really focus in on getting to know this person initially. And also one of the other things that I had very clear in my mind to start with is that they had very different strengths to me. And I knew that. And they also had very different perspectives to me. And because I was quite conscious of that, I did go into that kind of, I suppose, part of building a relationship with them, trying to embrace that this actually might mean that I've learned some new and different things from them. And so not then seeing that as a threat, those differences as a threat, because I think sometimes when you're thrown together with people who perhaps have different strengths to you in this position of being your manager, that can sometimes be a little bit dominant, and that can ruin the intent of the relationship. And I think if you go into it with that thought of actually, this person is different to me, but that's brilliant, I'm going to learn some new things, it initially gets you off to a good start. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
That difference piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think it's having a different mindset around it to be one that's much more positive and productive, and that enables you to be more effective. It keeps you in that more productive headspace rather than regressive into a place where you could be intimidated, uncomfortable, as you said, threatened. which won't be helpful to you or them at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it, you know, I've already made this point, but I'm going to make it again to kind of labor the point, which is about, I needed to understand more about this person because I didn't know a huge amount about them. And by doing that, that's what builds trust. That's what builds rapport. That's what allows that person to become an advocate for you in the business and in those kind of wider circles, that especially in a big organization, because those opinions, those sound bites really do have impact. So your line manager can have such a big influence in terms of what is next for you and your enjoyment as well in the role.
Absolutely.
So let's be real about it. Like, you know, they are a huge influence on our how we enjoy what we do and our day-to-day, as well as our own progression as well.
Absolutely.
So in terms of the steps, to bring it back to your question, I think some of the things that I did is I absolutely focused on delivering. So I did what I said I would do. And I was really, really conscious. And that was really important to me because it is anyway, in terms of one of my values. But I made sure I was really clear that I was delivering for that particular line manager. So the other thing I did as well was in one of our first one-to-ones was I asked them how they liked to work, how they liked to be communicated with, and how they made decisions. And actually, I remember at the time that person said to me, "Wow, I've never been asked that question before." Somebody who is now in my team, and I was kind of like, "Oh wow, okay, right." But the purpose of obviously that question was for me to gain that understanding and that knowledge and awareness so that I could learn to flex my approach to get the best out of this relationship. And also I gave it back. So I then talked about how I liked to work as well, how I like to be best communicated with, and also what some of my motivations, aspirations were. So it was very balanced in terms of we both had that opportunity to express some of that stuff that was really important to us. And I do think that in that particular situation, that got us off to quite a good start because we did have a level of understanding, which allowed us to then progress our relationship. I also helped them out as much as I possibly could within the realms of practicality. But, you know, if they were stuck with something, they had a problem, they weren't sure, I would try and help as much as I could to be somebody who they could lean on when they needed to and kind of support them as well. And I also think being transparent. So this takes time to probably get to this point, especially if it's somebody you don't know a huge amount about. Like I've said, you need to build that trust and rapport. But I did give them feedback when I felt that they got things right and they were doing a great job, or a meeting had been really good, or we'd, you know, had a really good team session or whatever it was. I did give them good feedback, but I also gave them constructive feedback as well. So if something wasn't working for me, I did take that to them. I wasn't scared of doing that. And I think that's because I tried to go into this very much from a perspective of we are both equals and we're both balanced in this relationship. We're adult to adult. This is not a parent-child relationship. And for me, in that scenario, that worked really well. And so I get, you know, that might not be the sense for everybody, but they were some of the steps that I certainly approached in terms of kind of better managing up and managing that new line manager at the time.
And I think what you're describing, all of which I think is really helpful to know and to learn from in respect of steps to mirror, because I think everything you've described is within everyone's gift to do. I think the key theme throughout what you've shared is the fact that you took responsibility for it. And I do think, you know, we can all sit here and debate that part of, well, surely the most senior person in the relationship is the person who should take responsibility for that because they have the greater responsibility overall in their role. But that's what I disagree with hugely, which is ultimately, if it's about you, for you, and you know how important that is to support you to be successful and to enable you to enjoy your job and for you to get the most from it and really enable your growth, actually that's your responsibility. So you should take control of it. We can all sit here and critique and moan in many ways about those who have managed us, but that doesn't serve us. You know, actually, if you really want something to be different, if you really want something for yourself, and you know yourself, hopefully better than anyone else, and I know we're all on a different journey with that, potentially, about our self-awareness and knowing what's good for us and how we best operate. But if that's the case, you've actually got the power because you've got the knowledge, and therefore put yourself in control to go satisfy it. I know my personal experience, I think, of learning that lesson, because I do call it a lesson, that I learned, was triggered from being in a situation where I had transferred into a different part of a business. So myself and my whole team transferred. And with that, I took on a lot more responsibility. I took on additional team members. I took on a different location and a line manager. There was a lot going on. I came into a line manager who I just could not, to begin with, connect with at all. We were chalk and cheese, like so extreme chalk and cheese, very different styles, very different needs, I would say. And I found working for them extremely frustrating, like so frustrating, on the grounds that I just could not initially believe that they weren't willing to meet me in the middle and spend time to get to know me.
Yeah.
Because my strong values are about authenticity and connection, and I want to get to know the person. That's really important to me, to help me build a relationship, because I want to know who they are as a human first, and then I'm interested in their skills and everything else. And because this person I was working for didn't have that same motivation, they were very process driven, very detail driven, very data driven. So we had very different preferences and styles. And I think I got more and more frustrated and upset, actually. I took it really personally, to the point where actually I wasn't enjoying the job at all. And I blamed them entirely for it. It got a little bit, I lost perspective, I guess. And I think I manifested them into I suppose in many ways, like the devil of all things.
Yeah.
And it just suddenly got to a point where I was like, this isn't serving me at all. I need to stop this behavior. I need to stop these thoughts. It's not helpful to me. And actually, I thought, if I'm someone who really values treating people as human beings, well, I'm going against that, because I'm vilifying this person. Yeah. And I'm taking away their sense of human from them without their permission, which is totally unfair. Like, they are a human being. They have a family. They have priorities outside of work. It's just that in work, this is the way that they choose to be. And that's what works well for them. And I need to find a way to connect with them and appreciate them and recognize them for the skills and the strengths that they have that actually are really helpful to them, this job, their role, actually the wider organization, in all fairness, and then use that as a way to enable me to find ways to work with them better. And it took a lot of strength, I'm not going to lie, because
I was difficult,
and because I was so angry and I was frustrated. I was angry because in many ways I did take on the martyr hat for a while, where I was like, I shouldn't actually have to do this. Like, it's their role to do this, not mine. I'm already having to do this for my own team. I'm already managing them in this way to get the best out of them, to support them. And I want that in return for myself. So actually, I should be being given this, not having to find ways, be creative, take on even more responsibility to manage up, to get it for myself. It shouldn't be this hard. But it just got to the point where I was like, yeah, I can stay in that space for as long as I like. And actually, I'll just carry on being frustrated and pissed off. If I really want to change this for myself, I need to put myself in control of it. I need to stop moaning and whinging and bitching about it. I just need to do something different. And in a way, I suppose it's a selfishness thing. Actually, be selfish and do it to get something back for yourself. Like, you know, sometimes you just have to go and ask for it. This person just wasn't aware. And it was really interesting, actually. The more I changed my mindset around them, the much better our relationship became. And I actually felt stronger to be a lot more honest and open with them and be direct and say, actually, this is how I'm feeling. And this is what, when you do that, you make me feel. And this is how I need you to do things differently to help me to be better. And they just had no idea. Like, I think I made it so personal, as though they were doing these things on purpose to really piss me off. And actually, they didn't know that was what they were doing. Now, yes, you could argue and criticise them again for a lack of self-awareness. And in the senior leadership role, if you're going to be a head of a department, you need to be a bit better than that. I still think that. But that just wasn't their strength. Like, and it, you know, it just, I forgave them for it, actually, in the end. I was like, do you know what? I forgive you for this, because I need to, for both of our sakes, but more my own, because I'm making this so much worse. Like,
I think you raise a really interesting point there about when you aren't getting on with your line manager. And let's be real and honest about it. It sucks if you're not getting on with your line manager, you're not connecting, you're not gelling. You know, we spend a lot of time at work. So to be unhappy, it's horrible. But I think I've definitely been in that space. So I had a line manager a few years ago now who I didn't particularly gel with, connect with, for various reasons. And I also definitely made them out in my head to be a villain, and it snowballed and snowballed, and they couldn't do right for doing wrong in my eyes. Everything they asked me, everything they said to me, everything they wanted from me, I just kind of came with such negativity and read far too much into it. Now I have the benefit of hindsight. And I think if you are in that space, it is important that we absolutely do take responsibility ourselves to check ourselves, and that actually, is this the reality of the situation? You know, that they are always demanding of me, they are always criticizing me, they are always giving me feedback, or whatever those negative things are that you're experiencing and feeling. If that is purely what is going on, truthfully going on, then okay, then there's a solution that needs to be created there to address that. But actually, what is the role of your responsibility within that? And is there stuff you can do to help address and move things forward as well? Because very much the success of these relationships are based on that equality and that equal kind of trust and respect. And it has to be two-way. And we can start very easily with ourselves first, rather than focusing on the other person first. So I think you raise a really interesting point there.
As I said, it's hard.
Don't get me wrong. Absolutely
it is hard.
It really is hard.
But I cannot stress enough how beneficial it is. I know that as soon as I started managing myself more and choosing my behaviour and choosing my actions to support my manager to manage me better, because that's how I describe it, I felt so much more, I felt a lot more in control. That was one of the biggest things, was that actually I'm now in control of this, and I'm now controlling the situation, and I'm now managing it better. So therefore, I immediately started to relax into it and not carry so much tension and anxiety. And definitely, as I like that point you make about the balance and like getting on the same level, I definitely started feeling more in that space, which again helped me with my control, I think, because I felt a lot more a part of the relationship, not, you know, I suppose I felt involved in it rather than feeling as though I was constantly manipulated or like impacted by it. And I just felt lighter. I mean, I describe how I feel about things as either heavy or light anyway, but I felt a lot lighter. I could breathe better, you know, because I wasn't so angry, I guess. I wasn't so frustrated. I wasn't so wound up. So I was a bit like, freer, you know, like I've got this out, I'm doing things, you know, I'm a woman of action. So I generally find that the more actions I take, the lighter I feel more productive. You know, I'm not just carrying stuff around, like I'm just, you know, I'm expressing it. So like, it was a really good experience, but it took that awareness, it took that time and effort and committing to doing it and to continue. I have to admit, like, I think the biggest thing that helped me was thinking of them as a person and finding things about them that I could appreciate and celebrate, so that I thought of them a lot more positively.
Yeah. And I think as well, like utilizing your network around you, you know, if other people may be struggling to build that connection or rapport, I think talking to others, however, you need to be careful about that you're not then kind of gossiping or being, you know, bringing office politics and igniting that yourself, that you're using the conversation as a support mechanism to help you get some stuff off your chest to move forward, and that it doesn't then kind of become all that you talk about with your network. That's a really important distinction.
Absolutely. And I think not just to get it off your chest, I think actually it's really helpful to identify people who are closer to the individual, whether it be your manager or whether this be a stakeholder, who can give you their thoughts, advice, perspective on how they work with them and what they do. So like you can identify things you can learn, as well as give you some feedback around if they are present and able to give a evidence-based view on what they're seeing you do. That, you know, whether that in itself can give you some learning to go, actually what other people are seeing you do is this, try this instead, you know, because you know, that's also really helpful. But I think you're right in terms of positioning it in the place of I'm asking these questions or I'm asking for this advice to help me because I want things to be better, not in a way that's deemed as critiquing or slagging off or, you know, because that's never going to go down well. And again, it doesn't paint you in a good picture. So why would you do anything that makes you look bad? And
it's not kind. Yeah.
No, so it's not kind.
It's not kind. And we don't get me wrong, we all have our moments, but we need to, you know, try and approach things with as much kindness as possible.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is, if you are a manager or a leader right now and you are struggling with somebody in your team, I would really urge you to think about how have you tried to connect with them on a more grounded and kind of holistic level as them as a person, rather than as them in your team doing a job and playing a role. Like, have you really spent time to understand or try to understand what motivates them, how they like to be communicated with, what's going on for them outside of work? And some things they may not want to share, and that's absolutely fine, and you have to be respectful of that. But there are certain things you can ask about how they like to work, how they like to be communicated with, etc. And so I'd really challenge that if you're in a position where you are struggling with someone in your team, have you done that? Because if you haven't, I'll go back and try and do that to try and help move things forward.
Great. I totally agree. And also, have you been transparent about yourself, like how you like to be communicated with, what your expectations are of them? You know, what I think we're too quick to assume that everyone already knows this stuff. Like none of us are mind readers, and we're not all the same. So I don't know why we think that. I think, you know, you've got to. I used to do a great a great activity with new teams when I joined them or when I built them. That was where we would sit together and we would do an exercise called asks and offers. And I would say, this is what I'm asking of you as a member of my team, and this is what I'll offer you in return. And everyone had to do that. So you would literally go around every single team member sharing that, so that you had the opportunity to share your strengths, your capability, your skills, and what you would offer to people, but then be very clear about what you were asking in return. So it was that give and take, i.e. it was there to cultivate transparent relationships and to build those connections. And it was such a good exercise. It like really simple but really effective, and it opened up that honest, open dialogue straight away, because it definitely gave you the opportunity to say, you know, what I need from you is I need time if you need me to complete that task. So if you want me to do it, I need to have a bit of notice, because I don't work very well and I don't react that well to last minute requests. You know, it was that kind of thing.
You know, a great exercise to do.
And it was things like, you know, people being able to say, you know, I offer data expertise, I love a spreadsheet. You know, it was things like that. And equally, someone could say, I really struggle with like data, so I really need some help with things like that. Do you know what I mean? It was that kind of stuff, so that people could all recognize, you know, what worked well and what didn't. And I know as a manager, it really helped me to manage people's expectations, which is, you know, I want to know if there's a problem as soon as you're aware of it. Yeah. So that we can fix it together. And I have that insight so that I can then manage other people's expectations outside of this team. You know, it was things like that. Yeah. You know, it was really great. And I definitely recommend it. And it definitely helped to, I think, create that balance and that mutual, we're in a relationship together. There's not a hierarchy in this. Yes, I'm a manager and I have that in my title, but I'm no more than. Do you know what I mean? It was really good.
I think here as well, like if you work in a smaller business where you don't have like loads of layers, of management layers, it's perhaps a smaller team. There's still stuff here that you can absolutely like learn from in the way that you for example, induct a new starter and bring them into the team, use a bullshit bingo.
Oh no, you're going to say
out. Yes.
Oh, Suze.
I know, I just used it. I'm really sorry.
There's listeners out there cringing. You lay your cards out. That's another one. We haven't had that one yet.
So this absolutely still, the principles still apply, even if you are in a smaller business environment. This is not just exclusive to medium to larger organizations.
No, not at all.
And it's really important that, you know, we spend that time investing in each other and creating that relationship from the off. Yeah. And getting that in the right direction. Yeah.
It's that, you know, you don't have to be in a multi-layered organization to still take the approach of, for people you meet, you find and seek connections. I mean, that's in itself is like a great thing to do and a simple thing to start doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, interestingly, if you want to find out more about how you build connections, we actually did an episode about that very subject.
Yes, we did.
Season 1.
Gosh, yeah. I don't know what that sounds like now, though. Maybe we should recommend people listening to it. Season 1. Oh, God, it was ages ago.
Maybe we need some feedback on season 1.
Listen to the episode on connecting with others. And let us know. Another great resource for this as well, because we're talking about relationship building, and I think it'd be silly to not mention it, is there are plenty of really amazing personality profiling tools out there that really help in this area about better understanding yourself and your preferred style of behavior and working, and that of others, that can really help to gain insight. So DISC is a personal favorite of both mine and Susie's. Definitely worth exploring, but there are other personality profiling, God, that's a tongue twister, activities, tools available, but definitely worth checking out.
So I think there is a final point that I just wanted to kind of say, which I think there is a watch out, and that is that in my experience, some people especially in a larger organization can become so good at managing upwards that actually then becomes like part of their role and their purpose to, like from others outside looking inwards. It kind of feels that that's perhaps all that they do or all that they strive for in terms of achieving. And actually, you know, we need to remember that influencing and managing upwards is an important part of our role in being successful, but so is actually influencing and managing relationships with our peers and with our colleagues and with our team. So it's not an either or, like they're very much equal in terms of their importance. So don't let your focus on managing upwards hurt other relationships or undermine other relationships or teamwork that's still going on. They're still absolutely critical. So I just wanted to add that as a final point, because I think that is something just to be mindful of.
It's time for our new feature for season 3 of the Coaching Cast, and that is workplace shame. This week we have a listener workplace shame. Few, because that means that like I don't have to share any of my inappropriate stories. Not for now anyway. Keep listening, tune in for more of those treats. But this one has come from one of our listeners, so I'm going to read it out word for word as they've sent it through to us. So it begins. I remember being in an interview once for my first translation job, and it was in a Cheshire town in the middle of nowhere. When they asked me if I had any questions for them, I blurted out, "What do you do for lunch?" I have no idea where it came from, and what it wasn't my famous moment. They must have been feeling kind, as I still somehow managed to get the job.
Well, great response, great result for you.
That's a lot cleaner than many of my workplace shames.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and mine. And obviously it is a question they valued. I mean, I think it's a critical question. I'm about the lunch.
What do you do for lunch? That's hilarious.
That's a great story.
Thank you very much, listener, for sharing that workplace
Thank you
shame.
so much. Really appreciate that. And if you've got a workplace shame you would like us to feature in a future episode, you can DM us on Instagram at the Coaching Cast or email us hello@thecoachingcast.co.uk and you can be in a future episode.
It's now time for Bullshit Bingo, where we call out phrases which get commonly used in the workplace, which make us cringe. Today's Bullshit Bingo, and it's a word rather than a phrase, is roadmap, which was given to us by one of our Instagram followers / listeners. So thank you very much to that CBB. We much appreciate it. So yes, roadmap.
Ooh. What do you think of this, Lisa?
So I worked in an organisation that loved roadmap and roadmaps, plural, to the point where the department created a visual of a roadmap. And actually, it was one of the senior managers that I think drew the image, and he was so proud of himself over it. So we had this visual of a roadmap. It was literal. It looked like a road. And it was printed onto like huge paper, and every department in the organisation had it. And it had its symbols on there. So it's like a real visual representation. And it just used to get talked about all the time about this particular roadmap. But I mean, this organisation changed things every 5 seconds. So the roads were always different.
The maps were always different.
It was just like, yeah. So, and you became desensitized to it massively. Like, got another roadmap. I was just like, I don't know. It just was like, we're not even moving on this bloody roadmap. We're spending so much time at the start drawing roadmaps and like having competitions about who can draw the best roadmap. It was just like, annoying. And I'm a really visual person, but yeah, it just got very tedious. But I think that's just the way it was misused. But yeah, roadmap.
I love how they drew a roadmap. That's amazing. Like, that's hilarious. I have experienced many a roadmap, definitely. I've drawn one myself. I'm trying to think if I've ever used this. No, I think I tend to use plan.
Yeah, I think I just use
the roadmap.
Roadmap.
Yeah.
But isn't every map a roadmap though? Like, doesn't every map feature roads? I suppose it doesn't really. You get a map of the world that doesn't have a road on it. It's too high up. You know, you can't see the roads from space, probably. Not in the day, maybe in the night. Anyway, this is getting out of control. The point is, it's just, I don't know. Do you know what? Roadmap, I can feel myself feeling anxious.
Oh gosh.
It gets in my chest.
It's evoking strong reactions from Lisa.
No.
We always have one of these, like now and again, where you get really strong reactions to a particular bullshit bingo. Yeah.
Brings up a lot of bad memory.
Oh dear.
A lot of frustration. Sodding roadmap. Yeah. Right. Well, anyway.
Don't forget, we absolutely love hearing your bullshit bingos. I in particular love hearing them because I look after our email inbox. So I love it when they come in. They make my day. So please, if you have any bullshit bingos you would like us to feature in a future episode, CBeebies, we would love to hear them. So drop us a DM on Instagram, or you can email us at hello@thecoachingcast.co.uk.
So we're coming to the end of today's episode, where we've been talking about managing our managers and our stakeholders. So our tips from today for you to try are all centered really around putting yourself in control and taking responsibility. So the first one is, remember your manager is a human being. So don't vilify them. Help yourself to be in a productive headspace to take things forward. So seek areas to connect with them and start building that relationship. The second one is, what are you asking of them and what are you offering in return? So as we've talked about, it's so important to cultivate that really equal, balanced relationship that's two-way. So it's really important to think about what your asks and offers. Number 3, manage expectations. This is especially crucial, we think, in terms of your managing your wider stakeholders, growing those stakeholder relationships in your network. People really appreciate understanding what's going to happen when, what's going on. So managing expectations is hugely important. And then the 4th and final one, which was Susie's watch out, was don't just manage up. It's one of the relationships you have to foster at work, but it's only one of them. It's not all of them. And nobody likes a really arrogant career progression striver who just only is ever trying to get a promotion by managing up. Remember, it's really important actually for your own success to manage down, across, all around to achieve success. So as well as those top tips, we've got some questions for you to ask yourself this week as well. So number 1, what's the one thing that could improve your relationship with your manager? How will you take action to achieve this, and when will you do it? Number 2 is who in your organisation or who you work with would it be most useful to have a relationship with? How can you build this relationship? And the 3rd thing is consider your asks and offers. What do you want from others, and what do you offer in return? Don't worry too much about remembering these top tips today. You can find them on our Instagram page at the Coaching Cast this week. And you'll also be able to find a lot of our historical top tips from all 3 seasons of the Coaching Cast on our grid.
We hope you have enjoyed today's episode and have some new ideas to take away and try for yourselves. If you have any questions, thoughts, or feedback, we honestly love hearing from you. So please contact us at hello@thecoachingcast.co.uk or on Instagram at thecoachingcast.
Your support means everything as always. Therefore, if you like what you've heard, then give the Coaching Cast a follow on Instagram at the Coaching Cast. Leave us a review on Apple and Google podcasts. And most importantly, subscribe to all future episodes wherever you listen. Don't forget, you can also watch us, if you really want to see what's going on our YouTube channel, which you can find by searching the Coaching Cast.
So in our episode next week, we are going to be talking about running our own businesses versus holding a corporate job. And this is something that you, our CBBs, have given us some feedback that you would like to hear us talk about. So we're going to take that on board, and that's going to be the focus of our episode next week.
We both love music and use it to motivate and energize us. So we like to finish each episode with our personal song recommendation, giving you positivity and energy as you launch into your next meeting, wherever you are. So this week it's my choice, and I've chosen Play Dead by Bjork. Doesn't sound that motivational.
No,
but it is a great track.
Okay, it isn't what it says on the tin.
No, so give it a chance. Bit of old school Bjork. Anyway, thanks very much for listening as always, CBBS. Have a great week. And remember, you've got this.